Loud. Okay, well, I'm just going to introduce myself again for everybody. My name is Kat Bujard, and I am working with Beyond Academics this summer. And I am with, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Ashton Davis. I'm the chapter president for Alpha Chi Omega. I joined Alpha Chi in the spring of 2019 as a junior, so I was a little bit older when I joined, and I'll be graduating in December, and that's when my term as president will end.
Oh, wow. Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell me, I mean, obviously I've got a lot of questions and I know that you may end up repeating yourself a little bit, but do you want to tell
Yeah.
me just a little bit about your experience with Alpha Chi Omega?
Yeah. When I decided to go Greek, it was something I wasn't sure that I wanted to do when I was a freshman. I think that's why I waited so long before I decided to rush. And when I did, Alpha Chi was the first group of sisters that I got to meet during recruitment. I fell in love with the girls there, and I just knew instantly that's where I wanted to belong, was with all of those ladies, because I could instantly see myself being friends with them. Um, and my transition into Greek life was honestly really smooth. It was so much better than I could have ever anticipated. It's given me so many opportunities. Like, I became president after not being in the sorority for very long because my sisters were so supportive of everything I was doing, and they helped cultivate me into the woman that I am. And it's been such a positive experience for me. And to honestly think about, graduating in December, it's so sad, but I do want to be a very active alumni for our chapter here, and any other chapter in North Carolina, honestly, that would have me. But it's been really wonderful, and I honestly would recommend it to anyone who's even remotely interested in being Greek.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much. Well, I
Yeah.
I have a lot of questions that are going to ask a little bit more about some of the things that you just said.
Okay.
But please feel free at any point, if you want to talk about a personal experience or just something, you're totally welcome to kind of
Cool.
go on your own, if you need to.
Yeah.
So first, just my first basic question, who is your organization for? And do certain types of people, like certain majors, certain whoever, tend to join?
hmm our organization is meant to be for anyone, absolutely anybody who is interested in joining. Our chapter is actually very diverse. My pledge class was part of who integrated a lot of this diversity in some of the recent years, and it's been absolutely amazing. And we even if you join our sorority, we are very integrated with the other organizations on campus, and so you'll have a chance to interact with other sororities within the CPC system,
Mm-hmm.
as well as MGHC MGC, MPHC, and the others as well.
Yeah. I'm kind of learning a little bit about the the CPC and all
Yeah.
the other ones
Yeah.
myself. There's all these different sort of networks of
hmm
sororities, fraternities,
hmm
the Divine Nine, all those kinds of
Yes.
things. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's great to hear that you guys kind of collaborate and communicate with each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Let's see. So if I'm interested, when
Mhm.
and where can I meet with you or get information?
Yeah, so we now have deferred recruitment at our school, so that means instead of having a typical rush or recruitment week in the fall, that now happens in the spring. So since we no longer have that big rush happening in the fall, we do have an informal recruitment. And
Mhm.
so the way that you would learn information about that is if you follow our social media pages, you would see us advertise when and where you can get a hold of us. So because of COVID-19, most likely it's going to be a Zoom call or maybe a one-on-one coffee date that we would just have to set up with you, whenever you're free. Um, Typically, we would have some sort of larger event that would allow for more potential new members or students to come and interact with more sisters at one given time. But just given the circumstances and what UNCG is expecting out of us to keep everyone safe, it will have to be a little more one-on-one. But all you would have to do is just contact us either through our website or through our Instagram, and we would set up a meeting with you.
Okay, cool. Awesome. And maybe it would be a good time to say, could you tell us what your Instagram handle is so that we can look for you?
Yes, let me pull it up just to make 100% sure I'm correct. I think there's like an underscore in there. I don't want it to be
Yeah,
wrong.
I understand. And then
Yeah.
I'm happy to like share it whenever we share the video, and then I can put it
Yeah.
in there too.
Yeah. So our Instagram handle is UNCG underscore AXO.
AXO. Okay, great. Cool. That way folks can find you if they're on Instagram. Awesome.
Yes.
And you said you have a website too. Is that like
Yes.
the larger like organization website, or do we have like a chapter website here?
There's a chapter website, and there should be a link to that in Spartan Connect. So if you look up our organization on there, there's a link.
Okay, great. Awesome. Yes, we definitely love Spartan Connect.
Yes.
Cool. So it sounds like there are some like beginning meetings just for folks who are kind of like want some more information.
Yeah.
But then later, kind of like in the spring, it sounds
Mhm.
like if you want to, um, attend like recruitment kind of stuff,
Mhm.
that can happen too.
Yeah. And I can go into, do you want me to talk a little bit about what the formal recruitment looks like?
Yeah, could you do that? That
Okay.
would be so fabulous.
Yeah. So for us, this is strictly talking like the CPC sororities, the way the other organizations do it is a little different. But for us specifically, recruitment lasts about 5 days roughly.
Hmm.
And so the very first night of recruitment is called Sorority 101. And so that is when you'll get to meet the four CPC sororities. So Chi Omega, Alpha Chi Omega, Tri Sigma, and Alpha Delta Pi. And so that's kind of when they're going to talk about the logistics of how much it's going to cost, how many members they have, what it's like to live in the chapter facility, just things of that nature, just so everybody kind of has like a general understanding of what the expectations would be if you were able to join the chapter. The next night is sisterhood night. That'll be the first time you get to meet all of the sisters. And so you'll go and see each sorority. So you'll see all four in that one night.
Okay.
At the end of each night, you as a potential new member will rank who you like talking to that night. And so the next night on philanthropy night, you'll see up to 3 of your top 3 choices. So you might see one, you might see 3, but it'll be ones that you are interested in going back and talking to.
Hmm.
And then the final night is called preference night. It's very personal. You're going to only talk to one sister, and it's kind of like you sealing the deal with, who you are interested in becoming a sister of.
Hmm.
Um, and so at the end of that night, you will rank again. At the end of each night, you rank, but on preference night, that's when you'll put in your final choice of who your number one pick is of all of the sororities. And so the next morning, which is typically like a Saturday morning, that's when you'll get your bid card. And then that's later that day, you'll run home to the sorority you have a bid from. And that's when your phase as a new member in the sorority will start.
Okay, wow, awesome. Well, I'm sure that you guys are the best, but how how on earth do you make how on earth do you make a decision? Like, I'm sure it's
Yeah,
personal, but
yeah,
maybe how did, at least from your own experience, how did that work for you?
yeah. Yeah, it was definitely very intimidating at first because I was like, there's no way I'm going to be able to make a decision because the first night I truly enjoyed every single person that I talked to in each respective chapter. And so it was really hard to decide who I wanted to kind of like the top 3 that I wanted to rank. But I just really based it off of the personal connection that I made with the sister that I was talking to in that room. Did I feel comfortable? Did I feel like, we were both very mutually interested in the conversation? How much did I connect with their philanthropy and the things that they do? And, how much did I envision myself being a part of the sisterhood? And these were just all things that kept coming back, to Alpha Chi Omega. I was like, I see myself talking to these sisters every single day. I see myself being friends with these ladies. I love what their philanthropy stands for. I would love to be a part of something like that. And, they were very involved on campus. That was something that I wanted to be a part of. And so I spent a lot of time just really kind of seeing how the puzzle pieces fit between me and Alpha Chi, and that's how I kind of made my decision. And, as cheesy as it sounds, you do kind of get that gut feeling of like, yeah, this is meant to be.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I
Yeah.
wasn't just looking at them. I'm like, wow, there's this one and this one. And I'm like, I mean, they all look good, you know.
Yes, definitely.
It would be a really tough choice,
Hmm.
especially when you're like, okay, now you got to rank it.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah, it's very scary.
yeah, yeah. Wow. Okay, thank you. Thank you for
Yeah.
letting us know a little bit about that.
Yeah, of course.
Um, so you said a little bit about how probably if we're distance learning in the fall or
Hmm.
kind of this hybrid, we're all a little unsure about that, um,
Yeah.
that some of that interaction would be online or virtually.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Um, Great. Um, so my next question is, it's kind of like, what type of environment can students expect? And of course, it might feel different if we're doing it online, kind of like this,
Yes.
I'd love
Yeah.
to sit and talk with you in person, but because of
Yeah.
everything, um,
Yeah.
so like maybe if you could tell me a little bit about like usually in person, as
Hmm.
far as like, um, like what room are we typically in, or like what kind of space, like are
Hmm.
we set up like a classroom, or does everybody sit on couches, or what is
Hmm.
that like?
Yeah, so once you become a member of the sorority, you have full access, to all of the meetings and the chapter space. So to start kind of like with the chapter space, that's located in Philip Hawkins Residence Hall.
Mhm.
So some of our sisters will live there. There is a requirement to live there for at least a year. But also there is a chapter room, which is basically a big living room located on the same hallway with the dorms. And that space is meant to be super relaxed. That's just meant for anybody to come hang out. You can do your homework there. It's meant to be a time that you spend with sisters. We don't typically hold meetings there very often. It's just not big enough. But also, we like to have that space as kind of like a getaway for people to like go and relax, do something fun. When we have chapter meetings, which is when the whole chapter will get together, and that's a way for us to touch base every week to keep in contact about current things going on. What are other organizations doing? What are some things coming up, like, future dates of events that we're going to have so everyone knows what's going on. Those typically take place in the EUC, or we'll rent out a room maybe like in Bryan. So that kind of is set up more to be like a classroom. It's much more formal. The executive board is the only people who typically talk during the chapter meetings for some of the time. And then a little bit later, we offer for sisters who have announcements to talk. When we have workshops, so when we get ready for like recruitment, for example, we get the chapter together to kind of brush up on our basics of how recruitment works and things of that nature. Again, we're renting out a room maybe like in Bryan, and it's kind of set up more like a classroom. And one exec person in particular, probably the vice president of recruitment, will be the one who's primarily in charge of running that meeting, things of that nature. Does that kind of help?
Yeah, yeah. So
Okay.
it seems like, so there's kind of a different vibe. Like
Hmm.
when you're in Philip Hawkins Res Hall, like that's a little bit more like, it's more relaxed. Like you guys are
Hmm.
just together, hanging out, like having a good
Hmm.
time. But
Yeah.
when it's like more of like the chapter, like when you rent out the room in Bryan in
Hmm.
the Ed building,
Hmm.
that's a little bit more formal. So.
Hmm.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Um, so you talked about it a little bit about how
Hmm.
like, social norms, like just the leadership might be talking, it's a little bit more formal. But can you tell
Hmm.
me a little bit more about like the social norms of the space for students? So like I don't know if you want to get into this, and to some degree you don't. I mean, it's up to you. You don't have to. But like,
Yeah.
like I understand that it's kind of like it's your own sort of secret organization. So there's some
Hmm.
norms around that. Like, can
Hmm.
you help us understand a little bit about like what those norms are?
Yeah, so kind of like going back to like the chapter meetings, since that is primarily to conduct business, that is typically why only the executive board talks, and it's just to they're usually the ones who would probably have the list of events and like the future things going on in the chapter, things we need to let the chapter know. So that's typically, kind of why it's that way. And then a little bit later in chapter, we open it up to any sister who has like anything they would like to say. When we have like a workshop or something like that, so kind of going back to my example of like the recruitment workshop, even though those are still formal in the way of like one person's kind of running the meeting and things, they become a little bit more relaxed in the fact of they open up for discussion a lot more. We get broke off into small groups and we share stories and experiences. And sorry, you might hear my talks right now.
That's okay.
But we like share stories and experiences, give advice, or like we'll be given like a scenario and like work through that together. And then when like you're in like the residence hall, sisters are in and out of each other's rooms all the time. Like people live very much with like their doors open. And so people are just like constantly hanging out. Unfortunately, that'll be a little bit different this fall because of COVID-19, but every sister has access to Philip Pockets, so anyone can come at any time to hang out, which is always really fun.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Cool. Okay, awesome. So is there any type of like expected like interaction or like expected dress or like we wear pink on Wednesdays or or like like anything that again that you can share with folks we might need to know.
We have started a new thing where on Wednesdays we wear Alpha Chi apparel just as a way to make us known like to the student body and to other organizations. Is like we can be pointed out as sisters of that organization, especially when it's near recruitment time, when someone might want to come up and ask you a question. When we have chapter meetings, we usually have what we call formal and informal, and that strictly is just based on like how we dress. So when we have a formal chapter meeting, we're expected to wear business attire, and when we have informal chapter meeting, you can wear anything like pajamas if that's what you wanted, and those typically rotate every other week unless there's something special going on where we maybe need to dress up like 2 weeks in a row in business attire or something of that nature. Any other time we have any sort of meeting, it's usually very laid back. We're not expected to wear anything particular, but when we do tabling, we'll probably in some way have matching outfits. That might be in the way of a t-shirt you have to buy, or we're re-wearing something that everybody has once had, or it'll be a color scheme, or just some expectation like that so we look uniform. But those are always things that you will know well in advance and can prepare for. And if money became a factor in like how many t-shirts you could buy or something like that, there's always sisters that you can borrow from. That is like something we're very open with. Like that is, we constantly are exchanging clothes for each other to wear. So
Okay, cool. And for the record, your colors are, what are your like official colors?
Scarlet, red, and olive green.
Okay, very nice. Thank you.
Yeah.
So I feel like I know the answer to this, but I don't know how much. And you, again, if there's something you can't share, then just say, can't share that. Does it cost anything to join your organization or to be an active member?
Yes, we have chapter dues. Those are going to be changed just a little bit because of the circumstances with Corona. So I'll refrain from giving like a very specific number right now just because it will change a little bit.
Yeah.
But typically, yes, there's always chapter dues, and you only are paying during the school year. So right now in the summer, I'm not paying anything. I will only pay during the spring and fall semesters. When you're a new member to the sorority, when you're a new member to the sorority, the dues are pretty expensive to start off, but that's just simply because we're getting everything started. Like you'll have a badge that you wear, you'll get like all this paperwork done for you to make you a member of the chapter, and there's like new member fees that our headquarters expects to be paid, things of that nature. But as soon as your new member period is over, which it typically lasts like a semester, so like the semester you join, after that, it gets cut significantly. It like basically gets cut in half and it becomes much more doable. And, we understand that, there are sisters that come from different financial backgrounds and have, more ease or less ease with being able to pay their dues. And so we always try to be very aware of, where our sisters stand with that. And we always like to open a very safe environment to let our sisters talk about if they are kind of struggling in that field of being able to pay. And we always look for ways that we can help them out and, figure out a way to make it a little bit easier for them.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I think you were kind of talking a little bit about this before, but is there a certain, like, can I try to join at a certain point in my career at college? Like, do I have to be a second semester freshman? Or, you talked about how you were a junior.
Yeah.
So is there like a certain sweet spot or like a GPA requirement or anything like that?
Yeah, so typically the expectation now is you have to be a second semester freshman at least in order to join. Before we had deferred recruitment, you can join anytime. It didn't matter, but now they expect all students to at least have a collegiate GPA. Um, but there are so many students who wait until they are sophomores and juniors before they join. There are still plenty of freshmen, of course, that go through, but it is becoming more and more common to see students being a little bit older, like myself, when they went to join the chapter. There are GPA requirements for us, I think, to go through recruitment at all. It's a 3.0 or it's a 2.5. I can't remember. I'm rusty on the numbers, but our GPA specifically is a 3.0, if I'm not mistaken. But of course, that's not the only parameter we're looking at when, we, are meeting potential new members. We want to get to know you and see, what kind of sister you would be for our organization. And, do you have a heart for service? Like, because that's so important to our organization. And there's just so many other factors too. So, it's not the deciding factor, but, it is in place.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about this already a little bit, but just the ways in which your organization markets or advertises to new or potential members,
Mm-hmm.
maybe like Instagram, Spartan Connect,
Mm-hmm.
tabling. You talked about how you
Mm-hmm.
might table in the EUC. Is there any
Yeah.
other way that we should be looking for you?
Yeah, so on the first day of class, when we have fall kickoff, we will be out there. So that'll be right in front of the Jackson Library. We will be out there all day long. I'll be out there at one point. Hopefully, of course, if everything goes, according to plan. So, if any of you guys recognize me and you want to come talk to me specifically, I will be there for a while. But that'll be a really great way to get a chance not only to talk to us, but to every organization, because every organization and every club will be out there that day. And if rushing is something that you definitely want to do, there will be a way for you to sign up while you're there. So that would be a really great opportunity to come and kind of, ask the questions that you have lingering in your mind and to go ahead and sign up for recruitment.
Okay. Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Let's see. So how do you expect for students to get involved with and engage in your organization? So like if someone really wants to get involved, like what does
Mhm.
that look like? Does it mean just attending meetings or is there more than just that?
Yeah. Typically, when our sisters join, we do expect like a high level of participation, but we do understand that especially as like you progress in your collegiate career, that may become a little bit more difficult because you might obtain like an internship, your classes might become harder, things of that nature. But the expectation is that ideally you would attend most, if not all, of like our chapter meetings, our events, our tabling, our other meetings about like just other various things, participate in recruitment, like the whole 9 yards. But, if you ever reached a circumstance in your collegiate career where, that was going to become a little bit difficult for a little while, we of course understand that. And it's, nothing that's going to get get you in trouble, or something like that. We understand that school comes first. You're at UNCG to obtain your degree, and in some respects, Alpha Chi does have to come second. Um, but we do love when sisters participate a lot. But like I said, we do understand that that may not fit everyone's schedule every single semester.
Awesome. You mentioned events. What are some events that, like any kind of thing that people could expect that you might do that you can share?
Yeah. So in the fall, we typically have what we call rock sit. So we will go sit at the big rock by the calf, and we'll be out there for about 3 days. And it's to raise awareness about domestic violence. While we're out there, we're going to be collecting money, and we usually have a bunch of different resources in the way of like pamphlets and phone numbers, business cards, things of that nature to hand out to students who maybe want a discreet way of obtaining some information for their personal use to just educate themselves, or maybe they need the resource, however their situation may be. It's a really great way to talk to different sisters because we're out there in shifts, so like we're constantly changing who's out there, so it'd be a really great way to like go out and talk to everyone. As of right now, Rockset is planned to be as normal, so hopefully that will be still true. I think that takes place in the first week of October, I want to say.
Okay.
We're still making some adjustments to our schedule.
Yeah.
In the fall, we also have Take Back the Night, which is, again, another night about raising awareness about domestic violence. We have a campus march in the evening, and we go around and we chant different statistics that have to do with domestic violence that are very relevant to our community. And we also have an open mic that night, which is for anyone who is interested in coming to come up and share their story, whether that's a personal experience of theirs with domestic violence or that of a loved one. And we're there as long as people are interested in coming up and talking. And this is one of the times that we partner with several different resources on campus. So the CVRC, the Counseling Center. So if you wanted to go and educate yourself more, if you needed to have a resource and talk to somebody, we have that there.
Awesome.
Those are kind of like our two biggest things that happen in the fall.
Okay. Okay, great. Great. And are those things open to other people who maybe aren't a part of the sorority yet?
Yeah, you maybe wouldn't necessarily be able to like do the like sit at the rock, or like something like that, but like definitely coming by, hanging out for however long you want, talking, and if someone was interested, like a Take Back the Night, coming up and sharing their story, if that's open to everyone.
Okay, great. Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
I feel like I know the answer to this, but you can definitely share.
Yeah.
Does your organization socialize outside of organization
Yeah.
meetings?
Yes. Yeah, we
Yeah.
definitely do. We work very hard to make sure that we schedule what we call sisterhoods, like sporadically throughout the semester. And our philosophy is more of having a quality sisterhood than like a quantity of sisterhoods, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
And of course, beyond having anything that's planned, like us all planning to go roller skating together, something like that. There's so many sisters that, live together, like on and off campus, so many sisters who work at the same job, you have connections. And, we had multiple sisters working at the same boutique at like one point in time. And, I just got back from vacation with my big, we went to the beach for a couple of days together, and I'm going to be helping her move into her apartment this weekend, so I constantly am like in group chats with sisters, like just hanging out, doing non-Alpha Chi related things because we've just genuinely become really great friends and are really close.
Yeah, awesome. I love that. Well, then that
Yeah.
answers my next question. My next question was, how many members or friends outside of the organization?
Yeah, no, definitely. You will find like your group and you will have, yeah, friends for life. Absolutely.
Wow, that sounds awesome.
Yeah.
And that goes to my next question. So, how can students remain connected after graduation or after they're done at UNCG?
Yeah. What I know that a lot of sisters do is there's a lot of Facebook groups out there. Like I'm already a part of a couple, like an Alpha Chi Omega shirt swap, an alumni group, Alpha Chi's that are specifically in North Carolina, things of that nature. And those types of sites are constantly active with sisters looking for advice or looking for someone to room with or, has questions because about like their new career, and someone will comment who has the same career.
Mm.
I have a pen pal of an Alpha Chi sister who lives on the other side of the country right now, and we send letters back and forth each week. I've never met her in person or anything, but we just like talk via letter every week.
Wow.
Um, yeah, so many of our sisters become bridesmaids in each other's weddings. Like I'm attending my G-Big's wedding later this year, and so will a bunch of other sisters. And it is very common for our alumni to come back for when we have like initiation and we have like those big events like Take Back the Night, things that are very pivotal to what Alpha Chi stands for. Alumni always come back. Um, we just got a new chapter advisor, and she was a member of our chapter several years ago. And so it's just really cool to see how alumni still choose to be very interested.
Awesome. That's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one of the best answers that I've gotten so far. And unfortunately,
Yeah.
a lot of people are like, well, it depends on if they want to come back, if they can come back. But it sounds like
Yeah.
in this way, it's really important to kind of remain connected and stay a part
Hmm.
of the organization. And
Yeah.
could you clarify something just so that everyone
Yeah.
understands? When you
Yeah.
say you're big, can you help us
Yeah.
understand what a big is and maybe like a little and what that is?
Yeah, of course. So when you join the chapter, after several weeks, you'll meet some older sisters who are interested in getting a little. So when I was when I joined in the spring of 2019, I was a potential little. And so I met with a couple different older sisters who I got paired with out of, who they thought that I would have the most in common with, whether we shared the same major or we just kind of had similar personalities, just things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
And so we would all go hang out. And with my big in particular, the girl who became my big, we went and got pizza together and we just had like the best night ever. And that was the first time we met. And we were together for hours and like we just started texting constantly. And the really exciting thing when you get a big is you don't actually know who your big is for a little while. It's a surprise. So even though tell certain people in the chapter who you want your big to be, you never know for sure. And so I knew from day one that I wanted her to be my big. And so when she did become my big, it's to be more like of a mentor. She's an older sister who has had some experience and she wants to take someone under her wing to kind of like, teach them ropes of what it's like to be in the sorority and to kind of have like a built-in best friend, just kind of that, first anchor into like kind of getting like your feet wet when you're learning the sorority. And so I actually got a little this year and I was so excited. It was really cool to be on the other side of that and to be the one to surprise her. And, because I knew the whole time I had her, but she didn't know it was me. But I love being a mentor to her. She comes to me about so many things, and I love knowing that I kind of have her under my wing and that, I get to help shape her into being a really great Alpha Chi woman.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Sorry, my dog.
Oh, it's okay.
um, awesome. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for explaining that because
Yeah.
I know that can be an exciting and fun thing, and I just want to make sure people understand.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah. You may not know off the top of your head, so no worries if you don't,
Okay.
or if we can like link it later if we need to.
Okay.
Does your
Yeah.
organization have a mission statement and then just like some values, traditions that you guys have as an organization?
Yeah. What I can talk, this is kind of when we're getting into a little bit of like, the
Okay.
secrecy, but the
Yeah.
one thing I can share, our open motto is together, let us seek the heights. And our slogan is real strong women. And that is something that we take so much to heart and what we try so much to emulate in our everyday lives and within our sisterhood. We just always strive to be really great, exceptional women, and we always strive to recruit women who are just going to continue making our chapter better and better and better, so that when we come back in 20 years, it's better than how we left it. I really particularly love the slogan, Real Strong Women, because it can be interpreted in so many ways. It can be real strong women or just real strong women.
Mm-hmm.
You would kind of have to see it written out to kind of understand what exactly it is I'm saying. But, I really like that. And that, like I said, that's kind of when we're getting into a little bit of like the secret stuff that you'll know once you're initiated.
Okay, yeah. And maybe
Yeah.
we should just share with folks that Greek organizations do kind of have this secret sort of component that is, that you have to be initiated in order to kind of get the full experience.
Yeah.
Anything you want to share about just that and the fact that,
Yeah.
it is kind of, some parts are secret?
Yeah, I know when I was a new member, it was really intimidating to know that there were probably certain parts that I didn't know about the organization. It's nothing like bad and scary, or anything
Yeah.
like that. But, it definitely made it so exciting to know that like that's what you were leading up to, is you were gonna, eventually acquire the knowledge that every single sister shares. And I think that's what makes being in your respective organization so special, because only you guys know what really goes on in like every facet of being in the organization.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to go to what we call the Leadership Academy back in January, and that was at our headquarters location in Indianapolis. And so they had 4 exec members from every chapter across the U.S. come. So there were 400 or 500 Alpha Chi Omega chapter sisters there.
Yeah.
And we had to do certain like ritualistic things while we were there. And to see that many people know what to do, it was so special. It's just a really cool thing that really bonds you guys together.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. And thank you
Yeah.
for kind of putting up your boundary too, because that's important. I
Yeah.
kind of understand that you guys are sort of like sworn to secrecy about some things. And so
Yeah.
I just appreciate you, letting me
Yeah.
know.
No problem.
I feel like you already spoke to this a little bit, but how important is diversity to your organization?
Yeah. We really value it, and it is something that we take very, very, very seriously. Because I know sometimes there can be a very unfortunate stereotype to sororities, and we don't want to live by that. We want to allow any woman who is interested in joining our chapter to be there. Like I said, my pledge class was very diverse, and we've brought a lot of change into the chapter in the way of how we recruit women and like what our expectations are, and how we now interact with other organizations on campus, and just all kinds of things. And so again, we have the motto of like we always want to recruit better women. We want women to take the chapter and make it amazing for the decades to come. And so we know that by really working to include a diverse crowd of ladies, that like that's really what's going to carry our chapter on for decades more.
Yeah. I totally see that. Yeah, you want to continue to develop and share this wonderful sisterhood that you have. And so by doing that, it's going to take different kinds of real women. So very cool.
Yeah.
And you may not know, and this is okay, of course, just like with any of them, but are there any accommodations that your organization could provide or does provide for any kind of like variously abled students across a range of ability? So anything that you're aware of?
Some of the ones that come to mind, I know this is like a little different, but for instance, we've had sisters like study abroad, and they required like a special circumstance and like a special status within our chapter. We're very accommodating to things like that. We have even though we have a requirement to live on the sorority hall for at least a year, we've had sisters who, for some personal reason of theirs, cannot live there. And so we find ways to be very accommodating to that and trying to provide a environment that they feel safe talking about that. And same with financial, and same with course load. We try and have a lot of different things in place to make the experience as easy and stress-free as possible while you're still getting as much as you possibly can out of it. It's very common that when sisters get internships or they get like a little bit later in their collegiate career that they do need to take a step back. And so we have special statuses for them that will lessen their involvement to make it a little bit easier for them. So we always are looking for ways that we can be more accommodating to sister needs, whether that's personal, emotional, financial, circumstantial, just whatever the case may be.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I skipped one accidentally, and I feel like you said this, you talked a little bit about this, so it's
Okay.
a little bit of a repeat. But how welcoming is your organization to new people or beginners? And then maybe like what would you say to a student who is maybe feeling intimidated or a little uneasy with getting involved?
Yeah, this was something that I experienced with my a little bit, and seeing, new pledge classes come in now, having been an older sister. Because I remember feeling intimidated at first, and but to see, through like my lens now as an older sister, younger sisters being intimidated, I completely understood. And it will seem very overwhelming at first just because of the amount of information you're expected to learn, and now you kind of have to turn your schedule upside down to, begin accommodating coming to meetings and events and all these things to become, used to the sorority life. But it is so doable and it is so worth it. And, I went to school, I had 2 jobs, and I was in the sorority at one point in time. And, it was hard, but, the sorority was such a positive thing in my life that it didn't feel like work having to come and participate and do things like that. And it can seem also kind of scary of, how am I possibly going to know all of these people? There's 50 members. That's so many people. Am I going to find somebody I'm going to fit in with? And the answer is yes, you absolutely will. It might take a little bit of time to develop like those really close bonds, but you absolutely will, especially with the people who come in at the same time as you, because what you're experiencing is very unique and only your pledge class will understand. And so already, you will have tons of connections, and it's just going to cultivate and become better and stronger, just as the time goes on. And the more you become involved, and if you take on positions and things like that, you're going to create those relationships. And our sisters tried to do a very good job at being very open. If a new member's nervous, sitting with them at chapter, kind of talking them through what are some of the things that we're doing and things like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, great. Yeah, thank you. Thank you
Mm-hmm.
for hearing that.
Yeah.
I think you shared this earlier, but again, and if you haven't, that's totally fine. In your experience, how have you witnessed beyond academic students engaging with the organization? And maybe the answer is you haven't, and that's okay.
Yeah, I have definitely seen some of the beyond academic students coming by our tabling and, wanting to get involved, grab a sticker, ask a question, or sometimes we have tabling that's a little bit more involved. Um, for instance, we have something in the spring semester called Healthy Relationships Week. And so for one of the days, we take the pledge to like do no harm, like these hands don't hurt. So we paint our hands purple, we put it on a canvas. So it's something that's very interactive and that students really enjoy. And I definitely recall seeing beyond academic students come and be a part of like the more interactive side of our tabling. And I really enjoyed seeing that. But yeah, anything that we do is absolutely open to anyone. And so, yeah.
Yeah, cool. Thank you. Thanks for sharing
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And sounds like a really cool event. So
Yes.
awesome.
Yeah.
um, let's see. Does your organization connect in any way to like academic or career skills? And if so, how?
Yeah, those are some things that we take very seriously. We have certain criteria that as sisters follow and pledge to maintain, and our academic interest is definitely one of those things that's like our top priority. We understand that our first and foremost priority is to go to UNCG, to go to class and get our degree. And we work very hard to keep, sisters in the loop of, the sorry,
No, you're
that
fine.
we try and keep sisters in the loop of, resources on campus and, things that we as their sisters can do to help them if they're struggling with their academics. It is very common that you will have a sister who has the same major as you. We swap textbooks, we take classes together. These are all things I've personally done. I'm a kinesiology major,
Okay.
and there are several kinesiology majors in Alpha Chi Omega. I've gotten textbooks from sisters. I specifically sign up for classes sisters will be in, so I have someone to sit with and do homework with. And sometimes we may see that a sister is struggling, and we do have a way that we can intervene in the way of offering them support. Sometimes that may include study hours to a certain extent or something along those lines to just encourage sisters staying on top of their academics. And we do a fun thing called a Smarty Party. So if you get a really good grade on a test that you're proud of, your name will get put in a drawing to win an Insomnia Cookie gift card every week. And then at the very end of the semester, we just have like a good, relaxing party, just as a kind of like, yay, finals, like they're almost over. And, it's just very chill and we're hanging out. And so there's just lots of really good incentives to like, keep good grades. And, there's definitely always someone you can go to.
Yeah, yeah, very cool. Yeah, and like it sounds to me too like even just like you mentioned just the dedication it requires to be in your organization as well as time management, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I mean
Yes.
that's a skill for everybody.
Yes, definitely. And
And then of
it,
course you've got so much leadership experience too. So
yeah, it's definitely when you take on positions in the chapter, it's definitely good resume builders. It's very common that, like I said, since you do have so many sisters with the same major as you potentially, that you can kind of follow in their footsteps or get a connection into getting a job or kind of figuring out, what you can do that's similar to them. And, um, and kind of going back to like life beyond being an alum, those Facebook groups I was talking about, that's a really great way to kind of get involved and to ask for sisters' advice, especially like if you're moving. So if you're going to be moving to a different state away from your sisters in North Carolina, there are sisters somewhere else who will be happy to like go and have coffee with you or, to offer you some advice, or just, whatever you need. But Alpha Chi Omega definitely, no matter what you do in the chapter, will be able to provide you with really great experience being a leader, being a great team player, just being involved with something that is very time consuming, and to see how you mix that with school, it's just full of really great opportunities.
yeah, yeah, networking and just that social support.
Definitely.
Yeah, awesome. I think that that is all my questions.
Okay.
Is there anything else that maybe I should have asked, or just like something that you'd like to share that you're thinking about and you wanted to share with people, or anything that we should talk about before I let you go?
The one thing that I'll just add in here is, definitely don't ever hesitate to like reach out to any of our sisters, to give them a follow, to ask a question, just whatever it may be. We're here for you guys to educate you on anything that you may want to know about our sorority and our recruitment process, whatever it is you may want to know if you're interested in joining. Even if you're just remotely interested, we would love to meet with you and hang out with you and get to know you. Please don't be intimidated. We are all here for you, and we've all been in your shoes before. And to join Alpha Chi Omega has been an experience of a lifetime, and I would love to see more people, take the leap of faith and do it. So again, just don't be nervous, and just let us know anything we can do to like help ease your mind, answer your questions, whatever you need.
Okay, okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much
Yeah,
for your time and
yeah. Thank
um,
you.
getting us excited about Alpha Chi Omega. And
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
hopefully,
hope I gave you the answers you were needing.
no, you gave great ones, and
Thank you.
hopefully we'll see you in person soon.
Yes, yes, that would be awesome. I will be around.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna stop recording.